Hi Angel Besties, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Rachel and welcome to what I'm going to say is probably going to be my biggest book unhaul that I have ever done. It is well overdue, you guys, to refresh my shelves, clear things off, and just get rid of books that are not sparking a joy anymore. So I'm going to be going through all of these books today, letting you know why I don't want them anymore. But before we get started, have you guys even been paying attention during this intro, or are you distracted by my super cute glasses? I wanted to take a moment to talk about the sponsor of today's video, glassesusa.com. So I have actually ordered glasses from glassesusa.com before, so when they reached out to work with me, I was so excited. If you don't already know, glassesusa.com is one of the biggest eyewear retailers in the US. They have thousands of eyeglasses and sunglasses from brands like Ray-Ban, Oakley, Gucci, and so many more. What's great about glassesusa.com is their frames start at $39, which is 70% off of retail prices, you guys. So if you are loving these frames that I'm showing you right now, glassesusa.com has a crazy exclusive offer just for you guys at the link in the top of my description box. Glassesusa.com also offers a collection of blue light blocking lenses. You guys, protecting your eyes from blue light is so important. I know I'm working from home, so I'm looking at a computer all day, I'm looking at my phone, I'm editing videos on my laptop, so I always make sure to get the blue light blocking lens protection. It really helps with avoiding headaches, eye strain, it helps your sleep, and also increases your productivity. Shopping online is super fun, of course, but it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially when you have thousands of frames to choose from. But this is why I love the shopping experience on glassesusa.com, because they have AR virtual try on. I use this tool to try on the frames that I picked up, and I'm gonna be honest, I tried on so many. It is so nice to be able to see how these glasses are actually going to look on your face. So using this tool really helps you find your perfect pair. Also, shopping online at glassesusa.com is entirely risk-free, with free shipping and returns and 100% money-back guarantee within 14 days. All right, so now let me show you guys the 3 frames that I got. So of course we have these white ones. I think they are so cute. They're a little bit techy and super trendy. I think they're absolutely adorable. I am obsessed. Next up, I got these brown ones. They are giving studious vibes, you guys. I think these are so cute and super complimentary. And lastly, I had to get a pair of classic black frames. These are my staples. These are my go-tos. I feel like they go with absolutely everything. I just feel like they're super chic. Glassesusa.com is running a crazy exclusive offer just for my followers, and this discount can be used on top of any other discount that glassesusa.com is running right now. That is double discount, besties, but it is only for the next 24 hours, so make sure that you click the links at the top of my description box in order to get all the details. Once again, thank you so much to glassesusa.com for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get into the book unhaul. All right, friends, so let's get into it. I have a pretty ruthless book unhaul for you all today. Number one, it was very well overdue. My shelves were overflowing. Oh my God. I only have 3 shelves. I don't have room for more, so I had to make some tough decisions. I am also going to be moving this fall. Don't know where yet. I'll keep you guys posted, but that also kind of motivated me. We're gonna be moving, and I don't necessarily want to move books to our new place that I'm not super excited about, that I don't want to read, that I maybe gave like 2 or 3 stars to. So yeah, I think I was definitely due for some change to my shelves. Also, I've talked about this a little bit here and there on my channel, but I just find myself being drawn to the contemporary romance genre less and less. I definitely think that moving forward, I am going to be picking up contemporary romances when the mood strikes on my Kindle. So I have quite a few romances here that I have not read, and I don't think I'm going to. So I just want to get them off my shelves, and hopefully someone else can enjoy them. I am just very of the mindset that if you're genuinely not going to read a book, if you're not interested in it, it's okay to change your mind and just go, hey, I don't want to have this book anymore. So that is going to be a theme a little bit here, but I'm also definitely getting rid of a bunch of books that I've DNF'd and also read and just rated low. So that is my little spiel. Let's get straight into it. We do have a special guest, so everyone say hi to Ivy. All right, number one, perfect example of a book that at one time I had some interest in, but to be honest, I just don't really anymore, and that is Darling Venom. I have done a little bit more research about this book, and it has some elements that I don't really think are going to be for me, so I am going to unhaul it, plain and simple. Next up is going to be The Roommate by Rosie Danan. This is a book that I've just had for so long, and I never truly have a desire to pick it up. I have heard good things, but my library does have a lot of copies of this book and the audiobook, so I can definitely get it if I want to read it, but I just don't want this taking up room on my shelves anymore. The next book is Marriage for One. So I actually did read some of this book last year. I got to maybe the 40% mark, and then I put it down, and I just never picked it back up again. Do you ever have those moments where you're like, oh, I'm just gonna put this down for a second, and then it's like a year later and you're holding it in an unhaul video? Same. I do own the audiobook for this, so I think if I want to pick this up whenever that mood strikes for a Marriage of Convenience story, I will end up just listening to the audio, so I just don't need a physical copy anymore. Next is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I read this maybe a month or 2 ago, and while I did enjoy some aspects of this book, I really only had one major hit with Ali Hazelwood. I loved Love on the Brain. That is definitely staying on my shelf, but this book overall just didn't really do it for me. There were definitely some fun moments, but I think that this book is pretty forgettable, and I wasn't crazy crazy about the main character. She acted pretty young to me. So this was just like an okay experience, and it's gonna get unhauled. Next up is Offside by Avery Keelan. This is a hockey romance. I love a good hockey romance when the mood strikes. I could definitely see myself reading something like this in the winter, but I can definitely read it on my Kindle. Another hockey romance is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This is another book that like had some fun moments for me, but it was a 3-star overall. I enjoyed myself. I don't find myself thinking about this book too much. I wasn't crazy about the writing style. I think that this book just like has some like little pockets of, I don't know, enjoyment for me, but overall just not a super strong book for me. Next is going to be The Roughest Draft. I did enjoy this book when I read it, but it did not leave much of an impression on me, and it's just not a book that I think is super strong in hindsight. I did like my time with it, but overall I'm just not super in love with it, and so I'm gonna get rid of it. Next, our first fan row of the UNHAUL breaks my heart, but Between Wrath and Mercy, this book is so beautiful. It literally makes me so sad that I didn't like this, but this was also a DNF. I DNF'd this around the 25% mark. It was an Enemies to Lovers fan row. I just found the two main characters to be very lackluster. I don't really think that their personalities really shined. I remember specifically thinking our male love interest was too perfect, too like cardboard cutout of a man. Like I didn't really find anything super engaging, super interesting, super unique about this book. So I DNF'd it, and now I'm gonna unhaul it. Next is going to be Sweet Hand by N.G. Peltier. This is just a case of a contemporary romance that was all right, but I gave it 3 or 3.5 stars. Didn't really have much of a lasting impression on me, and so those type of books are definitely ones that I'm going to be unhauling. We have our first series. I am unhauling the entirety of the Devil's Night series by Penelope Douglas. Here's the thing. I did read Corrupt and I enjoyed myself, okay? But I am not a dark romance person. I have to really, really be in the mood for this subgenre. It's just a personal thing. Shout out to all my dark romance girlies. I love y'all. I don't know. I'm just not super drawn to this. I could maybe one day see myself picking this book up. Like if the mood strikes, if it's spooky season and I want to get a little scared and I want some romance, I might pick these up on my Kindle. My library has all the audiobooks as well, but these are also just like very big books that I just want more space on my shelves for fantasy. So I'm gonna be getting rid of these. Next up is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. So I read this book quite a while ago and I did have fun with it, but as time went on, there were things about this book that I would sometimes reminisce on and go, oh, that was kind of annoying. Oh, I didn't really like that part actually, or I don't know, things just kind of hit me later on. Sometimes a book sits with you and it's kind of like a slow burn, and maybe you rate it when you're in the post-book high, but then later on you're like, oh, you know, that actually wasn't as great as I thought it was. That is unfortunately where You Deserve Each Other falls. I don't think that this is horrible. I don't think anything super negative about it, but it's just not as wonderful as some of the other 4-star contemporary romances that I have read, so for that I am unhauling it. The next book that I am unhauling is Before We Were Strangers. This is a romance that had really strong parts and really weak parts. I did have an okay time reading this, I think, but there were definitely a lot of frustrating parts, and the ending of this book just, yeah, not for me, so I'm gonna be unhauling this as well. I am also going to be unhauling Tattered Stars by Catherine Cowles. This is the first book in a small town romance series, which I believe also has a little bit of a mystery twist to it, which that small town romance plus mystery subgenre, when it hits, okay? But I know that I'm not going to buy the rest of the series physically when the entire thing is on Kindle Unlimited, so I just don't need the first book. So whenever I'm in the mood for that type of romance, I definitely can get it through my Kindle, of course, so I'm gonna get rid of the physical copy that I have. Next up is Archangel's Kiss by Nalini Singh. This is the second book in the Guild Hunter series, which is a paranormal romance series. It was written in the early 2000s, and the first book was definitely fun, but it's a 14-book series, and I am just like in the middle of so many series. Oh my god. Let me know if you guys want to see a video where I just like talk about all the series I'm in the middle of, and we make some decisions together whether I should continue on with them or not. I think that could be really fun. But this is a series that I am making the executive decision that at this time in my life, I am not continuing on with, so I don't need to have this book. I am keeping the first book in the series because it was a gift from one of my very good friends, Nadia, and I did enjoy that book. But the entire series is a 14-book series. I am not going to continue that anytime soon. It was good, it was fun, but I just don't have a huge desire to do that, and I gotta prioritize other things. So I am going to be unhauling this for now. Maybe one day I will pick up the rest of the series, but this one's gotta go for now. Next up is The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. I actually read this very recently. It's a YA fantasy romance with a love triangle, a little bit of gothic vibes. Had some promise at the start, but the characters of this book were not for me. As I kept reading this book, I just started to like them less and less, and that's a big problem for me as I am a character-driven girly. So I just don't really think that this book is super strong, not very memorable. I'm not going to continue on with the series, so I don't need this. Next up is a book that I debated about. I really did, but I'm not going to do it, you guys. I'm unhauling Twisted Love. I love the Twisted series. I can't, fully say that as a whole because I haven't read the first book, but Alex and Ava just don't really interest me. I don't really want to read their story. I have heard so many mixed things about this first book, and I know that there are definitely people out there who really, really love this book, but I don't really like Alex from what I've read from him. I have read some like detailed synopsis of what happens in this book. No spoilers, but like I've gotten an idea of how things go down. I just don't really think it's gonna be for me. So I'm going to pretend that the Twisted series starts with Twisted Games and just unhaul this. The next book I am unhauling is The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This is another one, just like Marriage for One. I started this last summer. I didn't get as far as I did in Marriage for One. I got maybe like 150 pages into this, put it down, never picked it up again, and here we are. I just honestly haven't thought about this book very much. I've also heard some things about the book that I didn't super love and kind of made me go, oh, I'm probably not gonna pick up that book for a really long time. So why keep it on my shelves? I'm gonna be getting rid of this one, unfortunately. I know this is a very well-loved book, but for me, it just didn't really have much of a lasting impression to continue on with it. Next up is The Curse of Ophelia. I recently read this fantasy romance. It was actually a buddy read with my bestie, Hannah, at Hannah's Recent Reads. I don't know what goes on when Hannah and I buddy read fantasy romances. Every time, we usually end up giving the book like 2 stars, and this was kind of the final nail in the coffin. I just didn't really like this book. I don't really like the writing style. I found that the plot twists were very, very obvious. I thought that the foreshadowing was very heavy-handed, which is one of my biggest pet peeves, and the main character wasn't super enjoyable either, so just not a very great book to me. Next up is going to be The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. I am just getting rid of this specific copy. I have the entire Mistborn trilogy in the UK paperbacks, and I just don't really need this one. It takes up a lot of room on my shelves, so it's gotta go. Next up is going to be Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I read It Happened One Summer, which is the first book in this duology, and oh my god, I loved that book. I had such a good time with it. It was so much fun, but I was pretty disappointed by the follow-up to that book and any other Tessa Bailey book that I've read. I just haven't really loved, so I kind of wonder if Tessa Bailey is a bit of a flash in the pan for me with It Happened One Summer, a book that I really love. I definitely kept on my shelves, but this book, it was like a 3-star for me. I had expectations for it, and I was a little bit let down by the friends to lovers aspect, so it's gotta go. Next is going to be Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I have not read this book. I really love the other Kennedy Ryan books that I have read, and I was excited for this, but I did do a little bit more research on what happens in this book, and some of the content is a little bit triggering to me, so unfortunately I'm not gonna pick it up, which makes me really sad because I've heard wonderful things, but I just don't think it's gonna be for me. Next book, a part of my book unhaul, is going to be Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This book was actually pretty disappointing to me, potentially one of my most disappointing reads of the year. It was a 2-star. There's something about this book that, while it does have some similarities to Every Summer After, which is her previous book that I did really like, it just wasn't as good for me. There was more of this kind of like ambiguous cheating aspect. I found that our 2 main characters, I don't know, I didn't really root for them or their relationship, and I was kind of at the end of the book like, I don't actually know if I think these 2 should be together, and if I'm not gonna fall in love with them in their romance, there's just no way that I'm gonna love the book. The next 2 books that I am unhauling are There Are No Saints and There Is No Devil by Sophie Lark. I did definitely enjoy book 1. I was in a dark romance mood. I think that I read this for Summerween last year, potentially. I had a good time with it. The second book, once again, I've kind of heard mixed things, and one of my concerns has been, I feel like the romance, I don't really know where the romance is gonna go in book 2, because I feel like a lot of things sort of got tied up in book 1. I'm sure that the mystery aspect and the crime aspect continues, but I just don't really care to read book 2. I have also had extremely mixed experiences with Sophie Lark's writing. Like, I've really enjoyed some of her books, and I've disliked and given 2 stars to some of her other books, so I'm just not really drawn to these books at all and don't see myself picking them up anytime soon. The next several books that I am unhauling are my copies of the Bargainer series by Laura Thalassa. I read the series as part of my friend Sahar's fantasy romance book club. We read the Bargainer series over a few months, and I didn't end up loving it. I just didn't. I don't really like Laura Thalassa's writing. I think that is what I've sort of discovered about myself. I'm not going to be picking up her books in the future. I didn't like the way that she wrote some of the characters, and just overall, this just didn't really do it for me. So I did read the whole series for the book club, but it just didn't end up working out the way that I had hoped it would. Next up, I am going to be unhauling King of Wrath by Anna Huang. This pains me because I was really excited for this series. As I said, I am a lover of the Twisted series, minus Twisted Love, but we'll just forget about that. But I was really excited when Anna Huang announced that she was going to be coming out with a 7 Deadly Sins inspired contemporary romance. I thought that that would be really fun. This book was kind of a disappointment for me, and I was really sad about that because I was so excited to see what she was going to write next. But the 2 main characters I felt had very little personality, and that was really disappointing to me. Some of the things that our male love interest said and did were a little bit cringy to me, and I just haven't had a desire to continue on with the series. King of Pride, which is the second book, I did put it on my TBR a few months ago, and I just never picked it up because this book just didn't really do it for me, and I just don't really think that I care too much about the characters in this world. So I'm gonna unhaul this one. Next up is The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. Hold on, you guys know that I am not getting rid of my baby unless I had an extra copy, and that is exactly why I'm unhauling this. So when this book came out, I really wanted to read it immediately, obviously, but only the paperback was available, so I ordered this, read the book with this copy, had the time of my life. Then once the hardcover was available, I went and ordered the hardcover because I have all of Chris's books in hardcover. That is how I prefer to have them, and I just don't need this paperback, even though I love her. She's one of my best books of the year. We had a great time together, but I just don't really really have much room for her anymore, so she's gotta go. The next 3 books that I'm going to be unhauling is the Caraval trilogy. I have read Caraval. It was enjoyable. It was a 3-star read, but once again, I just don't really have a huge desire to continue on with the series, you guys. I have to make some tough decisions here, okay? I have to release myself from all of these series that I am in the middle of and make some tough cuts. And unfortunately, the Caraval series is going to be a part of those series that I just don't continue on with, and so I no longer want them on my shelves. I do really like the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I do think that her writing has improved quite a bit, so I definitely want to continue on with that, and anything that Stephanie Garber comes out with in the future, I'm excited for. But I believe this is her first series, and while I do think it has enjoyable moments, it's just not really for me, and I'm not too curious about what happens in the rest of the trilogy. All right, the next book that I am unhauling is A Kiss of Iron by Claire Sager. This is another fantasy romance that I was pretty disappointed by, and I read it recently. So this book I think has a really strong promise. We have a badass female main character, we have a morally gray love interest, very intriguing, lots of enemies to lovers build up that really could have worked. But unfortunately, I feel like once we got a little bit into the book, our main characters lost a lot of their characteristics and their setup. Our main character wasn't really acting like a badass anymore. She changed a lot, and the enemies to lovers aspect of our book I think just really went away very quickly, and a lot of the tension was lost in the book, so I lost a lot of interest in it. So because it's a 2-star, it's gotta go. All right, and the very last books that I'm going to be unhauling, I'm holding on to here because there's quite a few of them. I am going to be getting rid of the Addicted series by Krista and Becca Ritchie. Now, as you will see, I do not have Kiss the Sky or Hothouse Flower in this stack because you can pry those books out of my cold dead hands. They are masterpieces. I absolutely love them, but overall, I'm just not crazy about the Addicted portion of this series, and I kept telling myself that I was going to read the whole thing, and I'm just not going to. The first 3 books of the Addicted series I have read, which is Addicted to You, Ricochet, and Addicted for Now. I really did not like those books. I think they were all like 2 stars for me. I don't like the writing style of them. I didn't really like Lily and Lo, and I almost DNF'd the entire series, but I did have people tell me, keep going, get to the Calloway Sisters section of the series, and you guys were absolutely right. I love those books, and they did definitely give me a new appreciation for the series as a whole and kind of what these authors can do with different characters, but Lily and Lo are still just 2 characters that I don't really want to read about, and I thought that I would continue on with it. I'm just not going to. I have also unfortunately been spoiled for kind of the end of the series just through TikTok and stuff, accidentally of course, but just because I kind of know where things go, I know what's gonna happen, I just don't really see myself wanting to read any more of this series. I do really love Kiss the Sky and Hothouse Flower. Those books will always be very special to me. I can totally see myself rereading them, but the Addicted portion of the series, it's just not something that I'm going to pick up. It's a little bit unfortunate, but honestly, I'm happy to see these go. All right, Angel Besties, so that is going to be it for this big book unhaul. I had a really good time going through these books. I love refreshing my shelves, just getting rid of books that no longer bring me joy and sharing them with you all. I did want to once again thank the sponsor of today's video, glassesusa.com. If you made it to this point in the video and you wanted to let me know, go ahead and leave the book stack emoji. Make sure that you're following me on Instagram and Goodreads. They are always linked down below. I really appreciate that you watched this video. I hope that you're having a fantastic day. I love you all so much, and I will catch you guys in the next one.